Wednesday, June the 12th, and here I am in my car talking to you about today's programming. It's Wednesday, so what you've come to be used to on these Wednesdays is a push-pull of sorts, where I think it's safe to say that the priority is the strict press, but today we're going to pair the strict press with a renegade row. And what I want to say is that your renegade rows are common movements that you have done before, but maybe it's only true if you're like a Saturday goer. I know we put renegade rows on other days, but they're very common for me to put on EWOD Saturdays. So, we'll go over in class what the renegade row ought to look like, but generally I think we have a pretty good understanding of that. The strict presses today will be at a static percentage. And what we're going to do is similar to bench press. We're now at 85 to 90%. But what we're going to do is take 85 to 90% of our most recent heaviest double. And then we'll stay static at that. So yeah, you won't get up to your most recent heaviest double, but you will be close to it for all 5 rounds today. And that's what makes it challenging. That's going to give us a pretty solid session loading, if that makes sense. Like add up all the weight that you pressed over your head at the end of this session, it'll be a challenging number. We're going to parlay the strength today into another couplet today. It's only a 10-minute AMRAP, but when done correctly, I think this is one of those workouts where it's like, that's it on paper, and then you do it and go, oh man, 10 minutes might have felt like 20 minutes if you're doing it right, because there's only 2 movements, so you got nowhere to hide. What are the 2 movements today? Well, they are double dumbbell push press. So, what is the point of getting so strong in our strict press if we can't then use it to be very strong overhead, but not just overhead, with each arm? Like, we're doing some isolation work anytime we're holding a dumbbell on each arm, because you could strict press all day long. In some people's case, one of the arms is doing most of the work because of some imbalance or some strength, some weakness or some injury, and then we go to hold a pair of dumbbells, one in each hand, and we find that we feel weaker than we really are, because now both arms have to do equal amount of work. And we need to work on that. We gotta discover that about ourselves and then work to fix it. So you can now add in the hips, right? We can now add in a big dip and then a extension of the hips, drive overhead. We really want to work on the technique of a push press with these dumbbells today. We don't want push jerks, so that's the number one thing that your coach is going to be cueing you or letting you know is going wrong if you are turning these dumbbell presses into either strict presses, which you definitely don't want because you don't want to make this workout harder on yourself, or if you're turning it into push jerks, which, a little less common. Or the third thing that might happen, and that your coach will talk to you about if it's happening, is you're bringing the things down without showing a little bit of control overhead. So try not to do that. Don't be too quick. There's always got to be that little split second of control at the top of your head through, when your head's through at the end of each push press. Loading. What are we going to do loading wise today? What we're going to do is, you should choose a pair of dumbbells that you could do a set of 10 push presses unbroken. Maybe the deterioration or the fatigue over time causes you to eventually have to put down those weights, but hopefully not until after, say, round 3. Now, this is a couplet. The other movement after 10 push presses with a pair of dumbbells is just 20 sit-ups. And that might not seem like a lot, but this is performance. And I know if, just speaking from my own point of view, I'm not very fast at push-ups. But I wanted to try to be for this workout today. And so just remember, there is a standard to sit-ups, and it is my shoulders passing through my hip crease, or the imaginary line jutting out from my hips. The thing to keep in mind about that is I think sit-ups are a generally tame movement. We don't think of them as being very intense, even though the time under tension makes them pretty more intense than we think they are. But more to the point, you are fatiguing your core that you need to hold those dumbbells in a front rack and to be able to, with power, press them over your head. So that's where the challenge of this one comes in. It might not look difficult on paper, but it most certainly adds up over time, and your ability to work through that fatigue is what's being tested today. 7 rounds plus 3 for me. I think it's going to end up being a pretty good score, to be honest. A pair of 50s for me. Enjoy.